Hello students, today we are going to learn and experience the specialties of France. So, starting with lesson number 1 of book French for Kids 3 is
Nous sommes en France.
means we are in France. In this lesson we are going to learn about the famous places including the museums, monuments of France, especially Paris. We'll also talk about the various types of transport in France including road transport, sea transport, rail transport, and air transport. This lesson will be full of excitement as we are going to experience the beauty of France through the lesson.
Alors commençons.
Means let's begin. So starting with the first page. Here is mentioned that there's a girl named Shizuka. She is from Japan. She came France with her father and according to their plan they arrived in Paris in morning. Since then, they are visiting the city to see different museums and monuments, and with the help of this trip of Shizuka and her father we are going to explore Paris and France. So, the first question that comes to our mind is, what is museum? So, for the response we can say that museum is a building or an institution that cares for and displays a collection of artifacts and other objects of artistic, cultural, historical, or scientific importance where we can conserve the country's heritage. It's very important to understand what museums are. Because as we all know France is a country which is very particular about their culture heritage. There are many famous museums in France, especially in Paris, and in this lesson we are going to see 3 of them. The first museum is Museum of Orsay, which is
Musée d'Orsay.
in French. This museum is situated on the left bank of the Seine River. It was officially opened in 1986. Earlier it was a railway station also known as
Gare d'Orsay.
The second museum is Grévin Museum, which is
Musée de Grévin.
This museum is a wax museum which consists of a collection of wax sculptures representing famous people and personalities from history. It was founded on 5th June 1882. The third museum is the most famous and most visited museum in the world. Louvre Museum, which is
Musée du Louvre.
This museum is situated on the right bank of the Seine River. It was founded in 1793. Earlier it was a castle also known as medieval Louvre. It displays one of the most famous painting in the world called Mona Lisa made by Leonardo da Vinci. As you can see how beautiful it is in the image. Now, let's talk about monuments. The first question which comes in our mind is, what is monument? So, the monument is an old building or statue that is built to remind people of a famous person or event of historical importance. In Paris there are many famous monuments like Eiffel Tower, which is
Tour Eiffel.
in French. This is Eiffel Tower, the tallest structure of Paris made up of wrought iron. The height of this tower is 330 meters with 81 stories. Eiffel Tower is also one of the 7 wonders of the world. Second monument is Triumphal Arch, which is
Arc de Triomphe.
in French. The Triumphal Arch honors those who fought and died for France during the French Revolution of 1789. The third monument is Palais Garnier, which is
Opéra Garnier.
in French. This is the most famous opera house in the world. There is no price to visit the Paris Opera House for children under 12 years of age. Because of this, people visit a lot this place. As we know, Shizuka and her father visited all these monuments and museums in Paris, but apart all these they also planned further to visit other cities of France by using different means of transport. So, now let's talk about different means of transport in France. There are 4 means of transport depending on the route you take. These are road transport, sea transport, rail transport, and air transport. First we discuss about road transport in France. In France there are numerous bus lines and many buses that go through the center of the city, along the banks of Seine, and through historic districts, etc. Buses can be used to travel within a city or to go from one city to another.
Vélib Métropole.
Is a large-scale public bicycle sharing system in Paris, France. It is one of the best means of transport to travel within Paris for tourists.
Taxi G7.
Is the #1 taxi service in Europe and the taxi leader in Paris, and it has more than 9,500 taxis in its network. You can see there are 3 images of different vehicles. Buses.
Bus.
In French. Bicycle is.
Vélo.
In French. And car is.
Voiture.
In French. Now we'll talk about sea transport in France. There are 4 water bodies in France. These are the Northern Sea, English Channel, Atlantic Ocean, Mediterranean Sea. These are some places in France where one can enjoy a boat ride to explore a region within the city. You can also find some yachts at the coastal regions and ships which are used to travel through sea routes from one country to another. In French, ship is called.
Navire.
Yacht is called.
Yacht.
Boat is called.
Bateau.
Third transport is rail transport. The train is the cheapest, easiest and fastest way to get around Paris. Children under 14 years of age can travel for free in train in France. One can use trains to travel through different cities within France. France has 4 train companies that provide only domestic routes. These companies are SNCF, TGV, Ouigo, RER. The SNCF is known to be the main operator of trains in France.
Le Petit Train Jaune.
Is the most famous vintage train ride in France. There are 16 metro lines and around 300 metro stations. The entrance is indicated by a large yellow letter.
M. Métro.
Is metro in English and
Train.
is train in English. The last mode of transport is air transport. France is one of the largest aviation markets in Europe with some of the most famous airlines such as Air France and Airbus. France has 136 airports from which one can take flights for inside and outside of France. Some famous airports of France are
Paris-Charles de Gaulle Airport. Lyon-Saint-Exupéry Airport. Toulouse-Blagnac Airport.
in French airplane is called.
Avion.
Now moving to the exercise part.
À vous.
Question number 1 is. Write down the names of museums of Paris in French. Any 2. In this response you have to write at least names of 2 museums of Paris. Question number 2 is. Write down the names of monuments of Paris in French. Any 2. In this question you have to write any 2 names of monuments of Paris. Question number 3 is. Write down the modes of transport. In the response you have to write all the modes of transport in France. Question number 4 is. Write down the names of road transport in French. Any 2. In response you have to write any 2 road transports. Question number 5 is. Write down the names of trains companies in France. Any 2. Here you just have to write any 2 companies of trains companies in France. Question number 6 is. Fill in the blanks. You have to read every part and write the answer in the given dash or blank space. I hope you must have enjoyed a lot learning and exploring the France in French in this video. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for next video.